Bears had their first preseason game, and even though it got cut short, we're going to talk about some of the takeaways in that game. And plus, it's Friday, so you know what that means. We're diving into the mailbag. All that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, guys. So the Bears' first preseason game is in the books, and even though it got cut short due to rain, we didn't get to see a whole lot from some of the players that I wanted to see things from. We did get a text message, and I'll say this now, or I got a message on Instagram of somebody who said that, hey, check out that Austin Booker. It looks like he was kind of working on his bull rush, so maybe that was something that the coaches asked him to focus on in this game. So look out for that. I got to go back and watch that tape myself, but very good astute point there. But I want to get into some of my takeaways from this game. And even with the defense looking a little bit shaky and rough at sometimes, the offense, we saw three different quarterbacks last night. Austin Reed and Tyson Bagent didn't get a lot of snaps, but Brett Ripon and Colin Johnson are two of the players that really stood out the most in yesterday's game. And the thing that I kept saying in the post-game show yesterday is that if Brett Ripon and how well he looks like he understands this offensive scheme, if that's how Caleb Williams understands the scheme, with Caleb Williams' kind of bigger arm and decision-making and things like that, I'm really excited to see what this offense could be. And Colin Johnson, as well as a player who we've heard some things about in training camp, that he shined and kind of surprised some people. The game that he had yesterday, being a 6'6" wide receiver that can come in and be a big target, he's definitely increased his chances to make this team. And I think when you look at we know what Rome, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, we know the balance between those three. But Tyler Scott, a smaller wide receiver, 5'10", I think Tyler Scott is. You bring Colin Johnson in there for some of those bigger lineups and things that you may need. Listen, Colin Johnson is definitely making a case for himself to make this final roster and to actually be utilized. Again, like I said, any other wide receiver other than the top three are going to have few opportunities, but they're going to have to try to make the most out of those opportunities. And Colin Johnson definitely did that yesterday in the way that he was just able. He looked so sharp, and he looked like he understood exactly where to be at. And yeah, he was going against second and third string defensive players as well. But Colin Johnson and the story that's coming up around him is a really big one. But like the offensive scheme overall, I really liked. I like how we kind of set up plays by what we were trying to do. We let one play build into the success of another play, a couple of plays down in that possession. And that's kind of what you want to see from Shane Waldron. And so if this was anything close to what the offense is going to look like with better talent out there, hey, listen, we could have an electrifying offense out there for the Chicago Bears as well. The Tyson Bagent thing. I don't want to read too much into Tyson Bagent yet, right? Like I said, the Bears very well could have had it planned with him being their QB2 to come in and not play a lot of snaps. It could be that they didn't like it as well, and they wanted to see what Brett Ripon looked like in the system. Maybe they weren't happy with it. It could be a lot, but let's not read into it too much as of yet. I will say this. Do not make it a foregone conclusion that he is going to be the QB2. Don't make it a foregone conclusion that he won't, right? We'll see as this goes on. He's still going to have plenty of opportunities throughout the rest of the remaining two preseason games, and we'll see what that's going to turn into. The next one, the running back battle. Now, this is one that I have already seen, whether it be in social media or anything else, a lot of reading into what this could mean for the running back 2 situation. Some people say that maybe, they're letting Khalil Herbert kind of show his skills, so maybe to facilitate a trade, which, I'm not saying is not outside the realm of possibility. It could also be that Khalil Herbert just looked good. He had that long 19-yard run. And while he did have more yards than Roschon, he had 4 rushes for 35 yards. Roschon rushed 6 times for 24 yards. At the end of the day, I'm not making a big think piece yet based off the little bit that we saw, right? I'm not going to make a huge think piece on that. I do think that it still could be up for grabs, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears are trying to feature Khalil Herbert to see if maybe a move can get done before the start of the season. I'm not saying that that's a guarantee. I'm not even saying that that's likely. I'm just saying that it is something that could be a possibility into it as well. The next thing, no Dominique Robinson, no Velus Jones Jr. These are both two players that are on the roster bubble. Now, I've said it in yesterday's postgame, and I'll bring it back here, is that the Velus thing could very well be maybe they do feel very confident in Velus, and they felt, hey, we're sitting starters. Let's sit Velus. Let's see and take a look at other guys who could be behind him. It could also be that they're not as happy with Velus, and they wanted to get opportunities to other guys. The new kickoff rules, especially, maybe you want Velus out there, but I do think it's not straightforward that Velus Jones is just going to be the punt return, the kick return. I don't think that that's a foregone conclusion. I don't even think that is a gone conclusion that Velus Jones is going to make the final roster, but we'll see what happens. That he's going to get more opportunities as well as this thing goes on. But Velus is a wild card right now that I would think. Like I said, he's gotten passed up on the depth chart. You know, we had that caller not too long ago that was like, well, who in that wide receiver room is really going to pass up Velus Jones? Well, Colin Johnson made his case. Hell, Tommy Sweeney, I believe is his name, he may have even made a case, right? So, you know, we got to see what's going to happen there. But, you know, I think that they're still looking and evaluating because there's just one big cut date now as well. The Bears don't have to make any kind of rush decisions on who's going to be gone or anything like that. But if you're taking a look at the things right now on players that have kind of showed the most, especially on that offensive side of the ball, it'll definitely be the three that I've kind of mentioned. Colin Johnson, just so much. The chemistry with him and Brett Ripe, I don't even know if it was chemistry or just them both understanding exactly where and when to be in this. Colin Johnson caught 2 of Brett Ripen's 3 touchdown passes yesterday, 56 yards, 3 receptions. He really showed a lot, and you know he's a feel-good story right now for the Chicago Bears. Brett Ripen as well, he looked extremely good, and if you're just judging it off the last game, which I'm saying don't do, Brett Ripen has clearly made a case for him to be the QB too, right? So, you know, if you're looking at a battle there. And then, of course, Khalil Herbert really looked good for all the doubt and kind of things thrown his way. Roschon Johnson technically got the start, right? Khalil Herbert averaged 8.8 yards per carry, but he had that big 19-yard run. Roschon had a big run of 9 yards, but not nearly as big as the one that Khalil Herbert had. But overall, like, you can look at this thing, and the thing, like I said, to pull away the most is the offense. The defense, it was a bit disappointing in the sense that I just thought that it would look better than what it did look. Now, that maybe that's on me for expecting that, considering, you know, that we weren't playing our starters. We were going on a lot of depth pieces. But, you know, even the players that I was kind of no Keith Randolph real yesterday. Austin Booker didn't do a whole hell of a lot. He did get a tackle for a loss. You know, some people reported it as a sack, but at least in the official scorecard, it's marked as a tackle for a loss. So take that for what you will. But yeah, you know, at the end of the day, I would have had more to kind of really break down from it if they played the full 4 quarters, because I do think this Bears team was looking to kind of be a little bit more aggressive coming out of halftime. It seemed like they could have been, but of course that got taken away from us because the game ended early. So, you know, it is what it is. Overall, listen, the Bears won the game via it ending early, but we got to see more so from the offense, and I love what we got to see from the offense in yesterday's game. But you guys can let me know what you think on that down below. With that said, it is Friday, so that means it is Mailbag Day here at Chicago Bears Central. And we're going to go ahead and play these voicemails. We got 6 voicemails today, so dig in. This one's from Booker.
Yo, Haize, what's good, man? This book, blessings to you and yours on this Friday. Hey, man, football is it, man. Bears are back. You know, it's going to be good, man. It's going to be a good season, man. I'm finally happy, man. We get to watch some actual games, man. A couple of things I picked up on yesterday's game is I don't know what happened in that first quarter and, like, half of the second quarter, but I think around halftime when they went to the back, I think Eberflus turned into Flus Grimes and went off on them, because when they came out, they had a whole different demeanor. And I saw adjustments and everything, man. So that defense on the second half was about to get it before the game stopped. The other thing I noticed, man, about the Texans, man, the Texans have a lot of former starters as backups, man. So I don't know if that's one of the excuses I can give as to why they came out the way they came out at first. But, you know, like Cam Akers and remember Davis Mills was a starter. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he wasn't he's not great, but he was a good starter for that team. I also noticed, man, that Herbert was running for his life yesterday, man. That he really wants to be a Bear, man. It's just a shame that it doesn't seem that the Bears want him all that much, man. I think he just put on a show for his next team. But I hope they keep him, man, because I'd rather have a 3-headed monster than the 2-headed monster or whatever, man. You know, the devil you know better than the devil you don't. You know? But looking forward to the next week, man, when we get to see Caleb finally make his debut in the offensive line, this defensive line, man, and see how this team gels and plays together. That's all I wanted to say, man. It was what it was, man. It was a Hall of Fame preseason exhibition, pretty much. But that's it. Blessings to you and yours. Chicago up, bear down. I'm out.
Listen, yeah, football's back. I think we're all excited to see football. And you could tell, like Bears fans were. I don't know if when's the last time I saw this Bears fans this live for a preseason game, right? C-Dub on the live call. Shout out to C-Dub and the boys for holding it down there. But I do agree with you that it did seem like this team was coming in with a little bit of a different edge in the second half, and I wish that we would have gotten to see that. But overall, this was a first preseason game. You're still working out some kinks. You're still trying to see who's going to be part of that rotation. I think in the second preseason game is where we're going to see kind of more attempts, not just because the starters are expected to play a few snaps, but more so as well because now you kind of have some of your guys, right? The guys kind of got some of those nerves out of their system as well for some of the rookies and things like that. They kind of saw what the process is going to be. But yeah, I expect the defense to be much more on their P's and Q's going forward. I want to see a much more aggressive defense as well, but there's a lot of positive to take away from it. But overall, like I said, I'm not going to get too deep into the think piece aspect of it off one partial preseason game. We still left a quarter and a half in the book. So that's kind of my thought process. But I agree with a lot of what you said and laid out there, Booker. All right, let's get into the next one. This one's from Fred.
What up, Haize? Your boy Fred, what it do? Hey, I was going to say shout out to Darius. I be listening to his voicemail as well, and, he be, having some points to get, key points as well, too. I was going to let all the CBC, fans that call in, let them know, I don't have a hate towards the Bears or none of that, I'm just passionate, and I just want my team, to do good and have success. It's been a long time since we've been down. We always going to have a top 10 bona fide defense. That's facts right there. But it's like the offense got to stop dragging their ass. That's why I be so, amped up about it, because I want to see our offense be in the top 10 right along with our defense. Because the defense always been the staple of the franchise since the NFL has been, been going on. So yeah, man, I just want to see, we get a quarterback that can finally be a top 10 quarterback for the team. Something that we've never had, with this franchise. So I just be, sometimes I get pissed off, I get mad, because sometimes I don't like how, the Bears go about things, how they do things, in situations. Now, if that O-line don't get their shit together for the season start, it's going to be a problem, because what's the point of having, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and Rome, and, the tight ends and the running game if the line is going to be an issue. You know what I'm saying? So I think that O-line needs to go ahead, get their shit together. Come next year's draft, I do believe Ryan Poles is going to spend the draft pick on getting some offensive help to solidify that line, because that we definitely need to get that in order, because without a line, your team ain't nothing. That's even with a D-line as well, too. Like Eberflus stated, he need a strong 3-tech. So just like Caleb, you got to have somebody to protect your rookie quarterback, bottom line. And I think Caleb should play in that Hall of Fame game so he can get some experience and chemistry with the team. I don't see why not. Let him play. I don't see what the problem is. And I see Montez Sweat been putting a little hit on him, though. But he needs to get to feel like what it's going to be when other teams hit him. I ain't saying Montez Sweat trying to hurt him, and Caleb deserve it. But ain't no wrong with, him getting a little tap, here and there sometimes, so he'll know what it's going to feel like when he starts week one. But let me know what you think, Haize. Chicago up, better down or nothing.
Yeah, listen, we all have that passion for the team. And the passion that you have for the Bears are a passion that I think every real Bears fan should have, right? And we all have our moments of being irrational as fans of our team. I've done it. You've done it. Everybody's done it. Darius has done it. Everybody's going to do it at some point. We're all going to have, whether it's an irrational take, whether it's an irrational amount of being upset over something that really shouldn't make us that upset, it all comes with being a true fan of a team and being that passionate over the team. Now, here's what I'll say. The O-line. You say not getting it together with the weapons that we have. That's been my biggest fear, Fred. And I know you left this voicemail before the preseason game, so that's why I didn't leave any comments. But that has been my biggest fear, is that we have all these weapons, but how much is it going to be able to take root, right? And we're really going to be able to see the full polish of it if the offensive line isn't on its P's and Q's. That is something that I'm definitely a little bit worried and concerned about. Now, I will say this. We saw a lot of the depth pieces at quarterback yesterday, and at the offensive line, and they looked okay, right? But I am really excited to see what this offensive line, if they can get fully healthy, what they bring, how well they protect Caleb, because the last thing that I would really want to see is that we have tons of talent and weapons, but we just can't get in the flow or the rhythm of an offense because the offensive line just doesn't stand up. And we got questions up and down that offensive line. Tevin Jenkins is health. Nate Davis is health and focus. Braxton Jones is how much more can you continue to develop? Darnell Wright, coming off your rookie, how much do you build off your rookie season? And then, of course, the center play. Like, we have two centers in Coleman Shelton and Ryan Bates that are moving over to playing center for us, but we still got to see how they're going to do for that for a season long, right? So we got questions all up and down that offensive line. I didn't even go to the depth pieces of, like J. Tyree Carter and Kieran Amagaje and those type of pieces, but we'll see what it brings. I'm gonna right now err on the side of giving it more faith than not. But once that season starts and the pads are on, if they do start looking bad, it's going to be nerve-wracking haze is what it's going to be around these parts. But thank you for leaving that voicemail, Fred. Let's get into this next one. This one's from Trav.
What up, Haize? This your guy Travis calling in from the west side. I just wanted to call in and say that we finally have a GM that's operating like a GM. And the Bears organization is finally operating like a real football team. Seeing that how they locked up DJ Moore for the contract that they locked him up, they got him at a great value. Now they give us leeway to where we can go and possibly lock up Keenan Allen on a great deal. And then we can use our next year's draft picks that we have and work on our offense and defensive line where we can get young and draft and keep them guys young and build it out through. And now we don't have to go into next year, the year after and all that, looking for top free agents or anywhere where we spending money. We can just now draft and develop players to replace a lot of the guys that we have. Like maybe if we, let's just say, not saying that they'll do it, but let's just say, Jack Sanborn or Noah Sue develop. Now we can, possibly, let's trade off T.J. Edwards, possibly just saying, and then Jack Sanborn or whoever can slide over, and then we can go and draft another person and develop them and get them into just replacing all of the high end contracts and work it off and really be a organized football team that look like the football team. Where we headed at is where we look like we're going to be in a good position for the long haul, where now we don't have to go out and spend big money. We can just draft and develop. I just want to know what your thoughts on it, and as Ryan posed and what he's doing, what do you think? Is he doing a great job? Chicago up and bear down.
Yeah, it's great to have a good GM, and it's great to have a GM that is going to do whatever it takes to improve this team, and they are focused on maintaining some flexibility, because a lot of teams do have talent, but then they back themselves into a wall to where you can't add other talent, or it takes away some flexibility because you've not really thought your contracts through, and that is something that Ryan Poles does. Now, I will say this: I don't like the concept of getting off of good players just because the contract. I think that if they're living up to the worth and the value of the contract, you want to keep them stay. So, for example, you mentioned, let's say Noah Sewell steps up, and then we can get rid of T.J. Edwards. No, if Noah Sewell steps up and he grows and develops, you keep that because you know what T.J. Edwards is going to be, and you ride that out as long as you can. Now, it may get to a point to where you can afford to keep both of them, but I don't think you just trade them necessarily. Like, I don't want to get to the point just because you draft and develop well that you just jettison off talent. Now, there's going to be some times where you have to do that. Roshan Johnson is an example of that. The Bears just weren't in the position to pay him. Their linebacking core now is just making a little bit less than what Roshan Johnson makes alone, right? So you have to be smart about things like that, but I think that comes where it's not just about just player development. It's also about how you structure your contracts. You want to balance it. And there's going to be some situations where you may have to let somebody with talent go. For example, if this cornerback crew, Tyreek Stevenson, Kyler Gordon, Jalen Johnson's already locked in, keeps developing the way that they can, when Terrell Smith's rookie deal's up, we may be in a position where we have to let him go because we can replace the talent as a depth piece because we're so top-heavy in that. You're not going to just jettison off Tyreek Stevenson or Jalen Johnson because Terrell Smith is still good, right? So you got to balance it. And so it's not as simple as what even I've laid it out to be, right? As fans, we like to think it's more simple, but it is a balancing act. And I just really wouldn't want to get into a place where we're just sitting off really good talent just because of the money, because it's up to also the GM. It's not just about developing talent. It's also about maintaining that cap flexibility and balancing that cap aspect of it as well. Because guess what? You're going to have players That even if you draft the right guy, so to say, they may not develop the way that you think they're going to. They may not hit that ceiling that you saw for them, right? They may get hurt. What if that happens? So you have to do more than just draft and develop. That's a good base to have, to be able to trust that you can draft well and that you can develop talent, but it still has to be more than that, right? So we'll see what happens there, Trav. I get what you're getting at. Just wanted to add a little bit. I'm not necessarily disagreeing, just adding a little bit of extra perspective to that. All right, let's get into this next voicemail. This one's from Xavier.
What's going on, guys? This is Xavier calling in again, man. I just got a quick question, bro. I want to know how y'all feel about this, but, bro, I'm hearing all this good talk about Javon Dexter, bro. And, like, I saw the flashes last year, bro. I'm not even joking, bro. Like, I've been a big fan of him since last year. I was seeing the flashes and his progression. I'm like, man, Shreddy could be, like, really good, you know, shit. Like, he really seemed like he a good dude, you know, like, shit, as far as, his pressure and everything. Like, once he was really trying to, you know, like, handle and get his way through the offensive line and, you know, shit, getting the pressure on the quarterback as much as he could as a rookie. I'm like, man, I ain't that. He can only get better, bro. So I'm looking at it like this. Do y'all think that he could be as good as Tommy Harris? If not better than Tommy Harris? Because honestly, bro, that's the last good defensive tackle that we really had. Like, that was like that. I mean, dude made a couple Pro Bowls for us. I ain't saying like he was like automatic Hall of Fame, but Tommy Harris was a solid talent, bro. He made Pro Bowls for us. And, you know, he was a part of that Super Bowl team with us getting there or not. Bro, like, man, we ain't had really no defensive tackle really that good set. So I'm looking at it like this, bro. Do y'all think that he can have that impact, bro, that type of Tommy Harris impact? Because we need that, bro. We need that. With Montez Sweat as a dominant pass rusher, bro, I've been up on him when he was in Washington. I said he was their best pass rusher with Chase Young and Deron Payne, bro. I've been saying Montez Sweat was better, bro. Because, like, he's nonstop, bro. The energy that Montez Sweat brings is unmatched, bro. So, you know, like, I feel like if we got a defensive tackle to bring pressure up the middle, and then we got Sweat on the edge, and I hope DeMarcus Walker or Austin Booker or whoever, bro, Dominique Robinson, bro, one of them step up, bro, you know, and help on the other side. But, bro, we need that pressure up the middle, bro. And I feel like if Javon Dexter can be at least 80% of what Tommy Harris was, bro, we in the game, bro. We in the game. That's championship defense, bro. So, you feel me? Our secondary, I ain't even got no questions about them, bro. Like, we solid in the secondary. But I just want to know how y'all feel. Do y'all feel that Tommy Harris can be, if not, you know, better than Tommy Harris, at least comparable or decent enough to what he produced and get us a championship, bro? Like, you know, or put us to championship level.
Tommy Harris, could Javon Dexter turn into Tommy Harris? I mean, I would love that, right? I don't like comparing players. I'm somebody who I don't really like the comp. I want Javon Dexter to be the best Javon Dexter he can be. But I will say, bringing that pressure up the middle of what he can be in both the pass and the run game, he definitely can have a huge impact as far as making the game easier on the opposite positions, right? So if you have Montez Sweat bringing it from the outside, you got Tommy Harris. Now I'm saying Tommy Harris. You got Javon Dexter bringing it from the interior defensive line. That does make it easier on Booker, Walker, whoever. It makes it easier on Zach Pickens and those other guys as well. So, you know, I get what you're getting at in the comparison, and I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad comp. The way my brain works, I don't like making comps, especially this early into a player's career. Javon Dexter stepping into his first year as a full-time starter. Let's let him write his own story before we worry about comps. Let's start, year 3, year 4, start looking at, hey, he's kind of like a Tommy Harris type player, but let him develop his own story, and let's see who Javon Dexter is going to turn into, at least in my opinion. But, I mean, if he does turn into a Tommy Harris impact type player, not bad at all. Not bad at all. Let's get into this next voicemail. This one's from the 773.
Hey, Steve-O, C-Dub, Bobby, going on? It's your boy Dre calling in. Hey, man, look, I'm just going to say this. If Nate Davis makes the final 53, I'll know we're not serious about winning. There's no way on God's green earth that you can just miss practice after practice after practice after practice and make the roster, man. And then now that you might as well roll with Sheldon at center and Bates at right guard because Nate Davis has missed so many practices, you don't want to mess up that continuity, man. And another thing I wanted to say, man, I'm really excited about Javon and Montez Sweat, man. If they stay healthy, I think they're gonna be a nice little duo, man. That's gonna keep a lot of opponents this season from double teaming. But I know it's just training camp, man. You know, last year, like you said, DeMarcus Walker had a good training camp. But I want to know what y'all thoughts on what I just said. Shot time up, bed down. Peace.
Nate Davis, listen, here's the thing. I get it that Nate, you're not going to, first, he has a guaranteed contract, so you're not going to cut him anyway. Secondly, Matt Eberflus has already said that if he's healthy, he's starting. And thirdly, if he is healthy, he still is the best option that we have there. So you don't want to put yourself just because you don't like how a guy practice. No, I mean, yes, you want a guy who wants to practice, who wants to put in the work. But like I've said before, it's not necessarily that Nate Davis isn't practicing. It's also that he wasn't bringing it in the games. He has to bring it in the game, but he still offers the best situation for that offensive line out there. You want that, especially in a team that has the talent. So I can't get with you on Nate Davis shouldn't make the final 53-man roster because he hasn't practiced or whatever else, because he still offers you the best opportunity via his skill set to help that offensive line be what it needs to be. Now, if that changes, if somebody else comes along and it gives you a better option in that, then that's different. But especially with him having a guaranteed contract, he's going to be here, and let's just hope that he actually brings it on game days this year. That's all I want to see from Nate Davis. All right, let's get into the last voicemail for today. This one is from our boy, Darius.
What's going on, guys? Darius from Dallas here. Just wanted to call in and, give my take on this old Hall of Fame game, man. From what I saw, of course, everybody's probably calling in about Brett Ripon or Ripon. I think his name's Ripon. I think they were pronouncing it wrong. And Colin Johnson, and they both did really well, man. As far as Brett, it just seems like he's comfortable with the offense. It just seems like he knows where to go with the ball. And more importantly, the offensive scheme looks so much better, man. I'm just looking at the route concepts and stuff that are being ran, and we're running routes that make fucking sense. Thank you, Shane Waldron. That was the biggest takeaway that I got from that game. Of course, hey, Colin Johnson balled out. I think he did a hell of a job getting open. He even did good on special teams. I think that kid's definitely going to earn a roster spot. And if he continues to develop, maybe we got a replacement for Keenan Allen next year that we can just throw in there, plug and play. He's already in there and in the scheme and knows what to do, as opposed to getting another outside guy. Yeah, when I say outside guy, I mean a guy from another team or a free agent. Now he's got to come in here and learn the whole system. And Colin Johnson might be a guy where you don't have to do that with. But we'll see how it goes. I mean, I've seen this so many times in preseason where a guy balls out and it just never accumulates to anything. Hell, I've seen Matt Barkley ball out in the preseason, and of course that didn't accumulate into anything. So, but it looked great, and the thing that I'm most impressed with, I think that Ripon and Colin did good, but Shane Waldron finally has us with some good offensive schemes. Man, guys are running wide open down the field. It just makes sense. And when you have a playmaker, and then when Caleb gets to where he understands the offense the way Brett Ripon does, oh man, look out. But I will say that some of my concerns about Waldron got cleared up, just due to he's making plays. Calling plays, that makes sense. They just flat out make sense. And that's something that, we have not seen in this organization, for a long time. And lastly, man, I'll just say that the NFL finally got it right, man, with this kickoff rule. It's the first time in a long time where I've seen the NFL make a rule where it actually makes sense, and I think it's given us an opportunity now. We can hold more defensive ends and linebackers onto the roster, because those are the guys you're going to put in there to go charge down the field, so they can shed off them blocks, and guys are used to doing that. So now we got an opportunity to where some guys that probably wouldn't have made it at defensive end probably will, just through this kickoff change, man. So a lot of good things about this game. I really like what I'm seeing here. But y'all let me know what you think. Texas up, bear down.
I agree with just about everything that you said, right? Everything. Brett Ripon, the offensive scheme looks so much better, so much more fluidity in that offensive scheme that we had last season. Now we got to see, is it going to be consistent? Is it going to be once we have everybody in there, when we face a little adversity, or we're going to get more predictable, things like that? But overall, from the partial game that we got to see, I'm very excited about what we saw from that offense. And I won't say that Colin Johnson can be a Keenan Allen replacement, right? Because I think ultimately, like, if the Bears can go out there and get a guy cheaper than Keenan Allen, but still has tremendous upside, and they can keep that three-headed monster at the wide receiver, I think they may try to do that. Now, if Tyler Scott develops things like that, but Colin Johnson definitely is making a case for him to be able to stick around the Chicago Bears team. And I get what you're saying also in him understanding the scheme. That very well could put him above some players, right? Maybe even with maybe a better skill level, this size, things like that. If he has similar chemistry with Caleb Williams that he had with Brett Ripon, listen, hey, man. Hey, Caleb is going to have some weapons this year when you include the tight ends in that as well, and Swift and Roschon catching passes out the backfield. Hey, this could be a very exciting team, man. So I'm really excited to see what this team could be. But, guys, thank you so much for leaving those voicemails. Make sure you guys are following the show at Shy Bear Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. And like I like to end every episode on, man, Chi-Town up, but bear down, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.